Can you imagine if women decided that men deserved death every time we experienced patriarchal oppression? Hi, I'm Summer Tothill. Every week on my Instagram, I run a Q&A with my followers. They ask me their questions about how gender equality and oppression is affecting them in their world, and I answer. What you're about to watch or listen to is a compilation of 1 week's worth of those questions and answers. How can I convey my hatred of the patriarchy and misogyny to my 26-year-old gay son? He's a beautiful soul. I don't think you really have to convey a hatred for patriarchy and misogyny to young people. I think sometimes we can get bound up in our feeling of hatred for it, and believe me, I feel hatred for it, but I choose to use that as an opportunity to educate. And so in the context of a gay son, I don't think you have to focus on the hatred so much as you can use these feelings as a force to help educate your son on the ways that patriarchy and misogyny operate in your life, and as they certainly will be operating in his life as a gay man. Homophobia is fundamentally fueled by misogyny and is a product of the patriarchy. So he will have been victim to these things and may be able to understand it because of that. Probably in the wake of those murdered women and the man at Bondi Junction this weekend, it's really, really difficult to see past the hatred of misogyny and men's violence against women. But I'm just choosing to use it as an opportunity to think of how to educate people, particularly people in the gay community, particularly cis gay men, can really benefit by being educated about how their gayness can be suffused with misogyny, like femphobia, and like being dismissive of bottoms is generally a misogynistic impulse, and being dismissive of campness is misogynistic. So you could talk to him about that, and you could talk to him about how the expectations of men in a patriarchy have resulted in discrimination against him that doesn't happen to straight men. Life hacks for managing the rage you feel at the injustice of it all. I especially wanted to answer this question this week in light of the man who murdered a bunch of women and one man at Bondi Junction in Australia. Here in Australia, women have been really, really rocked by this reminder that patriarchal misogyny manifests in men's violence against women, and that even in a country where people don't have guns, women are not safe from being murdered by men. And it is impossible after such an event not to be suffused with rage, with fear, with frustration that nothing seems to change, that no matter how much we advocate and try to educate, men are still coming up in the world more misogynistic than they were in the previous generation. And of course, we did see some stats recently showing that men have increasingly more misogynistic values and radicalized values, whereas women have increasingly more liberal values towards gender equality and towards decentering men in there. I think one of the ways to manage the rage is actually to sit with it and reflect on what it is that you're feeling rageful about before you move on to the part where you try dealing with it. So I want to create a space right now to sit and reflect on how deeply disgusting and vile it is to me that women can legitimately have reasons to hate and fear men, have so many gripes with the way men in the patriarchy have treated us in provable, demonstrable ways that are purely based on our gender, that are oppressive, violent, diminishing, reductive, and dehumanizing. And yet we don't go around killing men and being violent towards men. Men feel slighted by women not centering them in the world, and they decide that women deserve death for that. Can you imagine if women decided that men deserved death every time we experienced patriarchal oppression, misogyny, being dismissed, dehumanized, and degraded because of systemic misogyny? Can you imagine if we decided that we could go on a rampage and kill men every single time manhood and its construction in Western society harmed us? there would be very few men left on the planet. And I'm saying this just in order to acknowledge our rage. I don't want to dismiss it. I don't want to tell you how to move on from it right away, because there is no moving on from it right away, because women were killed because a man saw fit to kill women for being women. But I'm not going to leave you with no solutions. I'm going to tell you the thing that I always tell women when they ask me how to deal with our justified rage in living in a patriarchy, and that is to be active. I do that obviously by educating women and sharing resources and that sort of thing on this Instagram account, on YouTube, on TikTok. I realize not everybody is going to do that. Not everybody has the time. Not everybody has the inclination. But you can also engage in ways that are suitable to you. You can share information. You can link women together. You can get involved in political movements or community groups and social groups that seek to understand and end gender-based violence or any other kind of gender-based oppression, such as our economic oppression, which, you know, is one of the things that prevents us from getting away from violence. So all of these things are interlinked, and whatever you can do to further the cause of feminism is going to help you feel less impotent and full of rage about all of this. It's even like just subscribing to a few content creators. Obviously, I'm one that you can subscribe to, but you can go and subscribe for free to people's YouTube channels. You can like sort of donate to their donation fund. You can seek out GoFundMes. You can focus on women's charities that working in the family and domestic violence space or in the political advocacy space. Find something that feels like it's helping and contribute to it either with your time or your money, and that I think will really help you to feel less full of rage because you feel like you are mobilized into action. My thoughts on the 4B movement. Okay, so for those who don't know what the 4B movement is, it is a movement in Korea based around decentering men. And the 4Bs are words in Korean that mean having sex with men, having children with men, dating men, and marrying men. And those all start with B in Korean. And the 4B movement is a movement to do none of those four things. So basically the ultimate decentering of men. And the women in Korea have done this as a backlash against really intractable misogyny and systemic patriarchy in Korea that is seeing them really harmed, exploited, and degraded at the hands of the culture that they live in. And I think it's fantastic. I think it is always good to decenter men in a patriarchal society. I hope that we can do that sort of thing here too. And I think we are doing it on a slower scale. We are decentering men, choosing to have fewer children and have them later. We are choosing to live alone and not marry. This kind of tactic will work as long as women still have the economic ability to earn money of their own, to pay for their own living situation, food, and healthcare. If we can secure our own economic safety, then we can decenter men. And in my estimation, this, once the backlash hits its peak and recedes, this should force men to change their behavior, and it should force policy change and social change that amounts to women actually being treated better, being treated like humans, and giving all of our rights and freedoms that we need. I just want to stay away from men entirely. Any tips? You're probably looking for more ways to decouple men from your primary way of existing in the universe, right? And to that end, I think you can do what I do, which is basically don't follow men about anything. So I don't really read books by men. I read both non-fiction and fiction almost exclusively by women. I don't follow really any male podcasters, maybe just a couple for specific reasons. I don't follow a lot of male YouTubers, if any, to be honest. I'm not seeking to get any of my information or entertainment or life advice from men, and I think that's one great way to stay away from the way that they influence culture. And the way they influence culture influences you. So if you can make yourself a world where you're listening mostly or exclusively to women, I think that can really help you to feel like you're getting away from men. That's it for this Q&A. Thank you so much for listening. Find me on Instagram at summertothill. That's summer with an O, spelt the same way as you see in this YouTube channel. I can't wait to see you there.